Today's video, we're going to talk about how to add or adding competitor terms to your product feed or shopping campaign feed titles, and of which increases the profitability of your shopping campaigns on the items you do it to by 50+% like it did for the client that we particularly worked with at our firm, where we tried this out initially and have tried it out several times since then. So with that said, I'm going to go through what are the details on how to actually put this together for your own company. This is something that I've tried out a few times now, and enough so that I can tell you basically it works every time. At least if you set it up intelligent way, not the half-ass way where you just say, well, any competitor names on my product title will do. That, in and itself is the wrong move to make here. The right move to make is to do it all the way, like I'm going to show you in today's video, so you get not only just all the profit increase you can easily get using this method, but in general, making sure it actually gets you a profit increase in general, because I'm not going to promise you it does unless you do all the steps. So I'm going to go through what these steps are, and then of course the case study where we had specific results for a pottery supply company. So if you watch to the end of the video, I will also go through what those numbers were on the campaign where we actually did this, so you understand how much you're going to be able to gain by doing this for yourself, of course. So with that said, I am Corey Zyman, owner of Guaranteed PPC. We are a PPC/advertising agency that specializes in offering guaranteed results to our clients. That is, more profitability from your ads before you have to make a payment to our firm or pay our agency fees at all. We're the only agency on the planet that does any kind of guarantee at all, which should tell you about the quality of the services and the information that we're sharing with you on this particular channel. I myself have 20 years of advertising experience, 10 of which is just through and after I set up my own ad agency, Guaranteed PPC, to give you the knowledge that I'm giving you here in this video. So with that said, getting into the content. Basically speaking, as you already know, shopping ads, you got your picture, you got your title there, and you got your price. And then if you got a discount code through Google Merchant Center promotions, you might have something underneath that, which by the way, I highly recommend you use, because that is profitable in and itself, even if you have to raise your prices to offer it, because there's a ton of people that try to look there for a discount before deciding which one to click on, which shopping ad to click on. Anyway, with that said, what you can do, most people when they do their shopping campaigns, whether they're doing that through PMax or a standard shopping campaign, they take their products on their site and they upload it to their Google Merchant Center account, which then that feeds into their shopping campaign. And they use like an automated feed plugin to do that. It just automatically scrapes all their products off their site as is, puts it into Google Merchant Center, and then that's how they run all their shopping campaigns. And if you have something good to sell that has, not too high of competition or super high demand, that could be already good enough. However, if you want more, if you're hungry for more profits, you shouldn't just by default, the title that you have on your site be the title you have on your product on your shopping campaign. That's not how you by far get the most profits out of your shopping campaign. And the reason for that is because the algorithm that decides where your ads are going to show up on Google for what searches and for what kind of people, it's only so smart. The more data you tell the system, the ad serving algorithm that runs all the different ads on Google Ads about your product and who buys it, the more you're going to be able to get in terms of sales out of that shopping campaign. And with most of our clients getting 70% of their profitability on Google Ads just through shopping or PMax that we run for them, you got to be able to do this, and you got to be doing this even before you worry about search ads or running display campaigns and so forth, because it's a turnkey way to make not just a little extra money, a lot of extra money, as you will see here. So what is this? This is basically, in Google Merchant Center, there's something called a supplemental product feed that you can add. And with that, what it allows you to do is have a different image, different product title, different price, whatever you want to do that's different on your shopping ad that isn't necessarily what was on your website by default or imported in your Google Merchant Center account by default. Because the automated feed plugins that most people use, they just scrape all the details off your website, send it to Google Merchant Center. Normally what's on a shopping ad isn't going to be, and what gets you the highest click-through rate there and the most sales there isn't going to be the same thing that gets you the most sales on your product pages of your website. So you want to have an optimized version of your shopping campaign to run, gets all the shopping results you can, while still having the best version of what you want for your product page on your site that gets the highest conversion rate on the visits who hit your site. And the way that you do this is through this supplemental product feed, where you literally, it's just like having a secondary product feed that works like your primary product feed that you already have in your Google Merchant Center account now, will override the details that are automatically now in or currently in your Google Merchant Center account, so that if you want to say, hey Google, I want to have this title for this product instead of the one that's in Google Merchant Center now to show up on my shopping ad, you can do that. And you could do that without necessarily updating your product title on your product page of your website, which if you started to add competitor names to your product title on your product pages, it would look like, and it would make your conversion rates go down. It would make you look too salesy, which you can't do that. But it doesn't mean that that might not help you on your shopping campaigns, because for that matter, most people don't see the product title before they click on the shopping ad. So what you can do is use the product title, lace keywords in that product title to get you to show up in more auctions that'll make you more money. And the reason why you put it in the title, by the way, is because Google, according to my own tests, put way more stock in deciding what your ad should show up for by looking at that product title by far more than anything else. Because we've tried adding keywords to the description, adding keywords to the product pages to get our shopping ads to get more exposure, and nothing works nearly as good as just adding it to the title. Okay, and what you actually do is you add at the end of your product title something that says better value than, and then competitor name 1, competitor name 2, competitor name 3, like that. Or you have up to 5 competitors there. And you can get that approved and there's no issue with doing it. So, and then what that obviously does is it allows you then to show up for people typing in a competitor name. So you can see where I'm going with this, okay? Now the key thing though is to get the 50+% lift in profitability from your shopping ads, A, you got to do this to all your items, but B, you have to put the right competitor names in there. You can't just be, if you sell, a Ferrari, you can't just put Lamborghini and Audi and just random. This is, if you sell a Honda Civic, you're putting in there Toyota Corolla. Why? Because it's the directly comparable item that the competitor sells, that if you were going to if you're currently looking for a Japanese mid-size sedan, you're going to be looking at the other Japanese mid-size sedans from the other manufacturers. It's a matter of which one to buy at that point in time. Once you know you're a buyer and you're just, you got to narrow it down from 5 choices down to 1 so you ultimately know who to buy from. The issue what people will have with this that are watching, I know that I already hear you guys rumbling here already. This is a lot of work. Well, it is a lot of work to go find by item which competitors' items directly compete with that item. You gotta literally do your homework here. And when you have one product A, you gotta find all the most directly comparable competitive items that compete with product A from your competitors so that you understand which competitor names to add to your product titles. And what you'll typically find is 3 to 5 competitors that compete directly with that item that people are gonna be, basically if they don't buy yours, they're gonna be buying one of these other ones. And you gotta do that for all your items, if you will. Now, that said, you can do this for 10 items. Prove to yourself how much this actually works, then do it for another 10 and another 10 and another 10. That way you only gotta do cross-competitive research on 10 items. It's not so bad, not so time-consuming up front. But what you're trying to do is find items that are either a better value, that is, your item is a better value than the competitor's items, or a better price, okay? One or the other. Why is that? Because if your ads start suddenly showing up for competitor searches that you're not competitive in those markets, then you're just gonna get extra clicks on those items from people that don't convert. So what's the point? If somebody's looking at item A, that they should be buying your item because it's cheaper and a better value. And when they type in that competitor name, they find your item, and therefore not only that they should be buying your item and they'd be well better off, but the chances are that if they clicked on your item that they ultimately would buy. You've got something that can help you scale your shopping campaigns to more sales that will work every time, essentially. With that said, that's basically what you do. Now, I mentioned doing this for 10 items up front, that this system works. So when you do it for 1,000 items, you'll get your money's worth out of it, or you'll get your money back out of the time invested in this particular strategy. But the bigger thing is you should only do it for 10 items if you already count on the profits that your shopping or PMAX campaign generates for you right now already, because The ad serving algorithm is so sensitive. Breathe on a campaign nowadays. It's going to go and send it off into left field. Got to think through every single change in your Google Ads account anymore very thoroughly, because you will know even if that change is positive long term for your account, it's going to be a negative factor on your results short term, which you got to make changes to make improvements. But you don't need to be making changes willy-nilly and be like, oh, does this work? Oh, does this work? And then just be trying all randomly, which you don't need to do that, first of all, because that's what, you either hire somebody who runs lots of ads and knows basically what works and what doesn't work, so you're not randomly testing, or you watch this channel, you go to work, you watch these videos, you listen to what I have to say, because these are all things on the content on this channel is coming from somebody who spends 40 hours a week doing ad testing. So, and that's the free way to do it. But with that said, okay, you need to, do the strategy here 10 items at a time, because even though it's a positive change for your account, it's going to cause some volatility in your results. And if you can't take a 50% hit in your profitability of your shopping campaign short term, then you need to be doing it a few items at a time so you don't notice any downtrend in your results. And then once the results from your first 10 items, you do it to normalize, then you do 10 more, and then 10 more, and then just keep going until they're all done, okay? It also just proves to yourself that you're on the right track, and the research that you're doing to identify which items should be in the product title are the right items. So that way you don't do all 1,000 items that you sell and then realize you should have did it this way instead of this way or whatever. Even though it'll work every time, 99% of the time this will work. It will be worth your time doing it. It will bring your campaigns more profitability. How you do it, that is, you realize that instead of these 5 competitors that I should be putting in the product title, it really should be just these 2 or 3 each time. And you learn that little stuff when you're still doing it on a smaller scale basis, even though it'll take you longer to get to the end result, the big result that you want. It's less reckless to do it that way. And if you have a bunch of overhead that relies on a certain amount of business coming in, you don't have the luxury to just rip the Band-Aid off, if you will, right away. So with that said, we did this, as I mentioned, I was going to do review a case study where we did this for a pottery supply company, where I could explain the type of results we got for them, so you would understand ultimately how it would be, what kind of results you would get for you, and how quickly you're going to get those results. If you, by the way, don't want somebody on your team you don't want to train them to do this, this is exactly what we do for clients at our advertising agency, and how we can obviously even guarantee results for clients. That is, we're not just trying to take a slice of your advertising revenue and do basically no work, which is 90% of the agencies out there, what they're doing, frankly. We actually are not the cheapest ones. People want good quality and cheap, and that's just a fool's errand if that's what you want. Good quality results that are expensive, a firm that's expensive to hire and gets good results, it's going to pay for itself anyway. Therefore, there's no reason to go to a cheap firm that says they'll do it for $100 a month. But this is exactly what we do for clients, is use strategies like this that are proven, that are labor intensive, but we put the labor in because we have good teams set up to do this efficiently, and we can just do it all for you, and you don't have to do a thing. We'll do 99% of the work. We'll do all the research on which competitors should show up for what items and what product titles, and we submit it to you, and you say okay, and then we execute it, and we're done. If you want that kind of help, reach out to me at guaranteedppc.com. I'd be happy to provide an estimate of how much results we can get for you, what we can guarantee for you as well, assuming you are a client that we for sure would want to work with. We don't work with just any client, but you can reach out and we can have a conversation about it at the very least and see what the opportunity may be with it. We also sell ad templates that work for a number of different markets. If we had the luxury of already working in the space that you're in, the niche market that you're in, you'd do yourself a huge favor just taking the winning ads, landing pages, all of it that work for your niche market already, and copy paste it into your account. Why? Because we've spent many times millions of dollars worth of ad spend to get to the end result that we've gotten already that you ultimately want. And you can just bypass all that work we did of learning what works, what doesn't work, and just get to the results right away. We can tell you what results we ultimately got in your space as well. So before you even bought the template from us, you'd already know what you would stand to gain from it. But anyway, if you're interested in either of those things, you can obviously reach out. We got 100 plus ad templates like that for 100 different niche markets plus, because we've been doing this for 10 years now. So even if you wanted to get into selling a new product, or get into even selling leads like we've had people do with these templates, you could do that. And if you reach out to me, I'll let you know what templates we have, what results we have in those markets and so forth, and what fees we charge which is a one-time fee for the templates. That said, okay, getting into the meat and potatoes here of the results that we got. So this is a Pottery Supplies company. We're talking about a company that sells pottery wheels, pottery making tools, that kind of thing for consumers as well as businesses actually. And with that said, we took the same approach. I'm going to use the 10 items at a time approach to get results, prove it to the client that this works and that it is working, and that, and then we're going to proceed with doing this with everything. A lot of times clients will not let me use this strategy because it makes the product title look junky. I will admit it does do that, but you can't argue with the results. And when most people don't see the product title, like I said, before clicking on the shopping ad, like 5% of the people or 10% of the people are going to see the title and everybody else isn't. So it's why, I don't know why people care about it so much. But anyway, what we did is we picked 10 items that we had a better value or better price on, one or the other. We got a 42% increase in impressions over the next 90 days. So quarter over quarter, once we implemented this fully, we waited 90 days. We took the 90 days results, compared them to the previous 90 days that was directly before us executing these changes on these product titles using the supplemental product feed system or process like I talked to you about before. 42% increase in impressions alone, 14% increase in click-through rate, presumably because we're getting into more relevant auctions than we had before. The machine learning didn't understand where our products should be shown, whereas it understands better now where our products should be shown for what people and what searches. And we also, along with that though, had a 17% increase in ROAS or ROI. Not only is it going to get you more clicks because it's going to start showing your ads in places that, ultimately it's going to see the competitor word there that you have in the title, start having you right away. This is like instant how fast this works. You'll be surprised. It shows up for people typing in that exact competitor product name. Then it's going to sit back and see if people click on it. If they do, they're going to start showing it a higher percentage of the time, all the time. Because, the way that Google does things is it's not going to be all at once. It's going to slowly test out its hypothesis. That is, for at least 10% of the people who search that competitor name and that competitor name traffic, if you will, people typing in that competitor name that's in the product title, it's going to have your ad show up. And if it gets a high click-through rate compared to the other ads that are there that show up now for that competitor, it's going to start showing you 15% of the time. And then of all this, it's going to show 100% of the time for that searches for that competitor name. But it'll start showing it basically right away as soon as you upload the supplemental product feed and it gets approved. With that said, you're going to get a higher click-through rate because it's just more relevant. You're going to get more impressions because as soon as Google tests this out and realizes you have a higher click-through rate, it's going to start showing it more. And because it's a much more qualified click, that is, it's getting in front of somebody who is further down the pipe, closer to making an actual purchase, narrowed it down to 3 or 4 or 5 products already, and they're just deciding which one to buy at the last second, you're going to get a higher conversion rate and therefore a higher ROAS. Partially, you're going to get a higher ROAS because you're going to have a higher click-through rate. Higher click-through rates mean lower cost per click. For multiple ways, you're going to be able to earn from this, and that's how you're going to get 50+% more profitability on the items that you do this with, if you do it the way that I said, like we had for this Pottery Supplies company. Now, one key thing I want to bottom line for you here is don't try to trick users, as it won't actually pay for you at the end of the day because you're wasting the time. What I mean here is Google's ad algorithm that decides if an ad shows for somebody or somebody else's ad shows or no ad show is very, very, very sophisticated nowadays. This is what Google's billions are based upon. They identify on an ongoing basis which ads are going to get the highest click-through rate from their users. Give users the best experience to go along with it so that they're more likely to click on an ad in the future than the organic results, okay? If you start doing like what people and still do to this day on Craigslist, if you're trying to sell a car, the people put in the description, not this, or not, if you're trying to sell, a Ferrari, it's not Audi, not Porsche, and they do that to show up in more search results. It's very similar to what we're doing here. But with Craigslist doesn't have a multi-billion-dollar valued algorithm to weed out places that the search, that your listing shouldn't show up in, whereas Google does. You're not going to, basically, even though your campaign could get a 2,000% ROAS right now, and you'll take any additional impression you can get because it'll be profitable, basically speaking, or almost has to be. Even if that's you, don't be sticking competitor names in that product title that are just generally loosely linked. Like I said, and how this system actually operates, it's going to slowly test you out. And if it doesn't see a higher click-through rate than you had before on your item than the other competitors that were having that you've displaced, you're just not going to show again. It's going to weed right away, and you're basically going to have wasted your time. Not only that, I would say you're going to have harmed your reputation with Google. They're going to take what you have moving forward less seriously, because I can get a result on an account a lot easier when an account's been set up very, very well and Google views that person very, very well versus a brand new account, because of the reputation you have as an advertiser and scoring the likeliness you doing something that's likely to perform well. And so what they do is they run something better and more aggressively when the things you ran in the past have panned out for them and help them achieve their goal of making a better experience for their users in the past. The reason why I say that is because I know a lot of you guys are going to just do the not Ferrari, not whatever with your product titles, because it's a hell of a lot easier to do that than to really do the research, see the exact items you should be putting in the product titles that people most commonly are considering when they consider this particular item here that you sell. That you're not going to fool the system. Now, anything that legitimately helps the user make a better decision, Google wants you to do. So this isn't even tricking Google if you do it the correct way. You find out if they are considering this item, they're considering this one almost exclusively always. And then therefore you take that product name and you put it in your title so that every time they search for that competitor name, your item also shows up so that they can, consider it the last second when they're making their purchase decision. This is what Google wants you to do ultimately at the end of the day, whereas they don't want you to put in there some generic keyword to show up another time to try to treat Google like a billboard. A lot of people think Google is a billboard, that they just shove a bunch of keywords into a campaign and have a generic ad that says, don't click this ad unless you have $1 million and you're ready to spend it now. That's the dumbest thing you can do. Google is trying to find stuff that's going to help their users more. You're not going to use the ad to filter out your traffic. You got to show up for the right stuff. And the goal is to only show up for people that could buy. And then once you have, do every last damn thing you can to get them to click through your ad first and the most. Not show up for everything and then have your ad say what you do and then hope the people that are buyers will click through your ad and the people that aren't won't. Because guess what? Half the people who make a search for and what your ad triggers for right now don't even read your ad before they click on it. They just assume whatever ads show up. Google's smart enough to know what they wanted, and they don't have to think or read anything. They'll just click through. And then so half your money gets wasted on people who never read your ad. So no matter how self-qualifying your ad is, half the people won't read it, so it won't qualify them at all. So half the money that you're spending is going to be spent on people then in that case who cannot buy. And that's obviously hard to make money when half of your money is not spent, doing anything, particularly when you have competitors who are not that stupid about their advertising and don't have that handicap working against them of half their ad money just being burnt on nothing because they're too lazy to set their ads up the right way so that things are efficient and that their ads are actually showing up for who they should show up for. Anyway, with that said, there's a lot more kind of details to running shopping campaigns that are going to make them beat all your competition, because that's really what you're up against. Like I explained before, Google just wants to show the ads that get users what they want. High click-through rates, high conversion rates. If you want to know all the other tricks in terms of optimizing the images and so forth, you should subscribe to this channel, as I have tons of information about that kind of thing on this channel already. You can search for it on my channel homepage, shopping campaign strategies and so forth. But at the very least, you should subscribe, as the information on this channel is coming from somebody who spends 40 hours a week doing ad strategy and testing at our advertising firm on dozens of accounts to give you the information I'm giving you on this channel, whereas 99% of the other information about how to run ads successfully online is given to you by people who don't run ads, run very few ads, and therefore they're just basically pulling your chain. You should subscribe to this channel at the very least because of that. You should also go ahead and check out my blog at guaranteedppc.com/blog, because the blog has similarly good information with step-by-step instructions on how to execute strategies that we know get results for our clients every time, that are our go-tos for our clients at our firm to guarantee the results. So if you like the channel, you're going to like that blog as well. If you have any questions about anything I covered here that you found that was incomplete about what I was talking about, leave me a comment below. I get back to every single person who leaves me a comment or question on this channel, usually within 24 hours time. I do that to give back to you guys that are watching, because Just by watching, you're helping the channel grow. To sum this up, you want to pick 10 items. I would pick 10 items that don't get very many impressions but have a high ROI, because in that situation, you're going to have any additional showing of your ad is almost guaranteed to get you more profitability and sales and profitability to go along with it. If you're going to pick 10, it's a lot better to pick 10 that way than pick them at random, because you're going to get the best bang for your that way. And go ahead and do the proper research on it, or have an employee do the research for you. Then go ahead and use your supplemental product feed and see what happens. Make sure you give it a full 90 days to see what happens, given that it's going to take a while for Google. Like I said before, they're going to slowly test out what you're doing first before they run it aggressively. And not only that, these results here that I shared with you here, this is just the start of it. They're going to constantly run your ads more and more aggressively for those competitor terms. The longer and the more sure about what you have is better that they are. You know, the increase in profitability on these items can go on for literal years. So this is 50% is actually just the start of it. You could easily double or triple the profitability of these items in the shopping campaigns that you have just by understanding what the product titles should be that they aren't right now. 50% is just short-term results. Anyway, hopefully that makes sense. I'll see you on the next one. Thank you very much for watching.
Remember when I said competitor was important during this video? Well, this video here tells you how